Hi everybody. So welcome to today's live jam session. I'm Neeta Bhushan. I'm your host, and I'm actually the author, best-selling author, speaker, global educator, global strategist of Emotional Grit and Global Grit Institute. And today the topic that we're talking about that we're going to dive into is how to unlock the code of empathy in your relationships and how to actually improve your relationships as a result. Now, and when we talk about relationships, I'm not just talking about personal relationships. While we know that the key to success is really improving our relationships with those that we love, and sometimes the relationships with those that we love are sometimes the most trying and hardest ones to actually, communicate with. But I'm also talking about the ones in the workplace, our professional relationships, our relationships, with our boss, with our coworkers, with our teammates. How do we really unlock and what really empathy is and what it can actually do? And this was actually inspired by my recent talk at Google. I was invited to speak very recently, a few weeks ago, at Google headquarters in Silicon Valley in Mountain View. And I shared this because for the last, I would say, 3 years, and moreover, the last 18 months specifically, I've been on this hunt and I've been on this goose chase to really understand what human behavior dynamics is in different parts of the world. And this was sparked because for the first decade of my life, I was a cosmetic dentist. And you would think, how did a dentist go from being, in an office to, traversing the world in over 45 different countries and then writing a book, a best-selling book? And so, the time, where I was at, I was born and raised in Chicago, and I'll give you a really brief story so that we can jump into the training. But, I was born to tiger parents, and, my dad was, he was this, Indian patriarch, very typical, traditional, first generation immigrant, and he believed in legacy and pride and educational success for his children. And, on my mom's side, she was, the prim pride and joy and very paramount of beauty on her side of the family. She was from the Philippines, and she grew from a lineage of pageant queens. And so, as a result, I inherited and I grew up embodying this idea of perfection in every single area of my life. And growth was something very foreign to me. Growth, and especially development and understanding of other humans was a very foreign concept. We were trained, getting straight A's, going and getting a great job and a secure, stable, legacy-driven, job would be the keys to our parents' hearts. And so, without getting into my story completely, I actually, during my adolescence, I ran through a lot of different points of resilience to make me understand how important emotional intelligence is and how important understanding the stories of our lives and understanding how empathy plays a huge role, especially in relationships, can really transform who we are. Because I actually lost my family before I was 19. So I was orphaned before I was 19. And I've had, several different experiences of what grit, the name of my actual best-selling book, is. However, I saw that there was a big gap in between, being a healthcare professional and the training that we have in school with, what we're expected to provide as healthcare professionals. And so, while I was reeling in my own pain of, the different circumstances that I was in as a leader, really living this lie of my life. I had achieved every single, aspect of success. I had $1 million practice. I had, the first class travel. I had a big Bollywood, superstar wedding. But none of these things fueled me. And in fact, I went to this deep depression. And so I left my marriage. And then it really sparked this whole idea of what else is out there than what I was typically, used to. I was transforming lives and smiles through, cosmetic dentistry. And, what I was very fascinated by is how leaders, make decisions, because this started out as I was a child. Because I couldn't really make myself or my family happy. My mom was dying of cancer. My brother died, suddenly. I took it upon myself to really understand, why certain behaviors caused certain outcomes. And so I'm going to share that with you guys today. And, some of the things that I'm going to share with you, the outcome of this, training, you'll be able to know the technique called Kavak, which you can utilize in every single format, discussion, and framework with the people that you work with, the people that you love, the people that you may not want to have conversations with. And it's a simple approach. And then you'll also be able to identify 4 different avatars that are in every single, either work structure or community, or even in your families, or even, aspects of you, and really know and understand, how to make better decisions, how to be more compassionate as a result. And, I'm going to start out with a few things. Really, what this is all about is changing your perception and your perspective and the meaning behind all of this. Because once we shape your meaning, then all of the things that we have, all the people that you encounter, whether it's, your family members, people that you hire, people that you're trying to hire, or teams that you're building, or things that you're scaling, this is the type of method that you can use repeatedly over and over again. And this is a great time to talk about all of this. There's so much happening in the world, and, we're really ruled by fear. Fear when we turn on our TVs, fear when, when we're walking outside. There's so much fear. And I think that as leaders, as people who, once we are curious about growth, once we are curious about understanding more and understanding why we make certain decisions, we can then choose a different decision as a result. And so I wrote a couple of different notes here just to make sure we stay on track, because there's so much that I want to be able to give to you. However, as I was, shaping and refining, all of this body of work that has taken me about, 2 years to really, formulate, even though I had been, doing this, in my operatory, in my 4 walls, for over a decade, right? I really was so curious about why people were so, hating wanting to come to the dentist, right? I don't know if you know this, but the US, we have the highest rates of suicide for dentistry. And it's because, you come to the dentist, and I don't know, I myself do not like getting work done on me because I had such a sweet tooth as a child. But I noticed that even when we would have certain shifts in our own practice, ours was a holistic cosmetic dental practice. So not only were we talking about how to, have better conversations with our patients so that we would completely shift the mindset so that they don't even think that they're actually in, a dental office. We started transforming their lives. We had people flying from all over the world. I started working with executives that way, not only to transform their smiles, but also to, really provide as this, I guess you could say therapist, because really we're working in the most intimate aspects of them. They're laying in my lap the entire day, before I got surgeons and things like that, because the company just scaled and got bigger. But, we realize every single human has, 4 things that they want to actually accomplish. Okay. And so you want to write this down. And every single human operates this way. So the first is they want a sense of belonging. So that's number 1. They want a sense of belonging. And let me see if I could actually write this down, because I did the other day and I thought I had my pen somewhere. but I guess I'm so sorry. I don't know where that went. Anyways, okay. So they want a sense of belonging. The second is they want appreciation. Every single human being wants appreciation. They want to be appreciated. They want to be seen. Third, they want love. They want to be loved. And, there's so much criticism out there. There's so much negativity that if we actually give these types of things to people, massively, you'll notice changes. And this is even in your employees. This is people that you have to bite your tongue to be around, but you can find one thing to actually, give them praise on. And then lastly, they just want this sense of inclusion, this sense of belonging, being part of something, being part of community. We are the only species, that exists on the planet that, really needs to be with others to thrive. We are not meant to be in caves and meditate all day. That's what, monks actually do, but we're actually here to thrive with other humans. And so I'm going to teach you how to actually do that. But if you can understand those 4 basic concepts, you're already way ahead of the game because you're here, right? You're here, you want to understand how to communicate better and how to have more effective conversations and how to have more empathy with those that, test your patience the most, right? So, I do this all day long. I've been, invited, since I left, my career and, left the medical world and, started consulting small businesses, then companies, and then really, it's been leaders and coaches that I've been actually able to, infuse a lot of this training coming from, human behavior psychology. I am a psychologist from, my BS is in psychology actually before I went to dental school. And so, most of my teachings and learnings have been really shaped by what I wanted to investigate, what I wanted to heal within myself, right? After losing my mom, my dad, my brother, and of course even, getting into a very abusive marriage, which I left 5 years ago. So, talking about resilience, talking about grit, talking about forgiveness, these are concepts that, as human beings, we forget so easily. We forget so fast when, life really throws us, lemons and tomatoes, but we can make a beautiful type of soup and a beautiful cuisine if we actually just shift our mindset, right? And so, one of the things I want to have you do is, take a minute right now, and just think of all of the emotions that you may experience on a daily basis, okay? I'm talking about positive emotions. If you can think just 1 second, okay, close your eyes, and I'll do this exercise with you. Some of the things that might come up in a day, 24 hours, you might experience joy, gratitude, love, excitement, abundance, motivation, drive, inspiration, ecstatic, bliss, awe, wonder, enthusiasm. So that's about 10 perhaps that I made. I kind of counted on my fingers. Think about it. Do you experience these emotions on a daily basis? Okay, and if the answer is no, do you experience them on a weekly basis? Okay. Use this example, and you can probably replay the webinar, to get some of these, these types of emotions if you wanted to actually, utilize this in your own homes. But think about that, and how often can you actually experience more of that? Because science has shown, research has shown that if we have even more gratitude and more kindness every single day, we change our brain chemistry in our head. We choose different states as a result. We have more energy as a result. We are more positive as a result, right? In turn, we have more empathy as a result. So that's number 1. Now, let's shift gears. Let's think about, what are some of the negative emotions that we can experience on a daily basis? So if you can do the same thing, take a deep breath, let it out, and what are some of the top negative feelings you can experience on a daily basis? Maybe it's stress, maybe it's overwhelm, maybe it's anger, maybe it's worry, maybe it's inadequate, Maybe it's worthlessness. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's anxiety. Maybe it's that you're not good enough. Maybe it's a sense of being alone. Maybe it's a sense of scarcity or loss. I've just named about 10. And I know that each of you who are on this call right now, have some of these that you experience on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. And I want you to think in your head, how many of those that I said that you experience, almost every hour. Do you realize that every time you check your phone, and we have research to prove this, but every time you check your phone and you go into your emails or your text messages, your heart rate actually turns into basically the flight or fight response, as if you're getting ready for battle, because your body is actually perceiving fear. And when you're perceiving fear, fear versus anxiety is actually a perceived threat. Fear is actually you're in danger. Like, a bear is actually going to come and eat you up right now. That's fear. That's like everything in your body shuts down. And anxiety really even happens even in the most, the smallest task that we do every single day, which is even checking our email. We're not breathing as deep. We go into, shallow breathing, which is up here, which means we're not getting enough oxygen inside of our bodies. So there's a whole physical reaction that actually ensues because of that, right? And so you're thinking in your head, oh my gosh, I haven't even realized this, or oh my gosh, you're right, I actually do this, and we do this subconsciously all day long. How many times do you actually check your emails? If you're in the tech sector, if you missed my talk at Google, and you're tuning into this now live, or you work in that sort of environment where it's definite high stress, well, we need to actually give you some ways to, combat that, right? How to actually have more empathy on yourself first, right? But that's not what this is all about. So, now I want to jump into, who are the 4 types of avatars that you have in your workplaces, in your lives right now, and in your perhaps maybe different parts of you, and how do we actually navigate that? Because that will be the keys to, really get you some of the outcomes to, how to deal with, some of these people, how to have better conversations with them, how to have more confidence in yourself, that you can actually navigate these types of people and understand, their perspective and their perception of things. All right, here we go. So the first person is, and I call her, I've got her as, this pleasing, apologetic Nancy. I wrote this down on my notes for you guys. So, she's constantly apologetic. She's constantly like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I missed this deadline. I'm so sorry that I didn't get this right. Oh my gosh, let me do this again. She's baking you cookies. You've got cookies all over your desk. She's constantly, outpouring her love for you, and she's constantly apologetic because she couldn't do this right. And oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I didn't do this. And oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. She is constantly sorry. Okay. So can you imagine what would happen to apologetic Nancy if she continues to go on like this? Can you imagine what will happen with her? Yes. If you guessed it, it's definite burnout is number 1, absolutely. Number 2 is resentment, for sure, right? These are some of these negative emotions that she can experience, right? Because why? Why do you think she would actually be able to, experience some of these? Well, because she's trying to please everybody. It's what she's doing is not good enough, so she has to bake cookies. She doesn't know how to stand her ground, right? So that's just one person. Now, for some of you ladies, I know myself included, I used to be that people pleaser. I mean, it's in my culture, my Asian culture, to actually, be constantly apologetic and, constantly do things for everybody else. But you run yourself completely dry when you're doing that. 100%. And then, of course, no wonder you're going to flip out on your, people that you're the most closest to, because they're the ones that, can tolerate the realness of you, right? You don't have to sugarcoat anything. But you then get to, you run yourself dry in any sort of, aspect of work, especially in the workplace and, with relationships. So the next person Okay, drill sergeant. Drill sergeant is always by the books. He's always by the rules, and you cannot be a minute late. If you're a minute late, you're a failure, you're a loser. If you can't get this thing done by the deadline, you are an asshole, you are inadequate, you are just, a piece of shit. He needs things on, all day long, on time, 100%. It's got to be there. Boom, right away. What happens with this type of drill sergeant in your life? Many of us grew up with fathers this way. It was their way or the highway. And if you falter from any of that, you are just piece of shit and you're worthless. Okay. We have bosses like this who are just unrelentless and they are not flexible at all. What tends to happen to these types of people? There's absolutely no sense of creativity, no sense of innovation. It's always by the book. It's always their way or the highway. Can you think of something that they might be completely afraid of? Change, right? They're fully insecure of actually changing because they only know what they know, so they want to perfect what they know, and they're only going to be in this straight line. But you realize, some of the biggest drill sergeants that we have in our lives are some of the softest teddy bears, right? And they're just so fearful of what would happen because they don't have any control of something that they can't really predict, right? So I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just showing you these types of avatars so you actually have a better idea of how to navigate them. That's all. Okay. The next is Repressed Charlie. And Repressed Charlie is somebody that we all work with. They're super cool, super chill, not any sort of, negative bone in their body. They just don't care. They're just doing their work nonchalantly, and they're doing their work, and they're doing their work, and they're just kind of, they've got everything, and they're just like super chill until one day they blow the fuck up. Right? And they're in your face, and oh my God, and this has been going on for so long. They repress their emotions. And they repress their emotions. Why? They want to keep the status quo. They don't know how to internalize them so that when things kind of pile up, they react, and they react with anger. My brother was a huge example of this, super cool, chill guy, but he didn't really have good role models to really know that, it's okay to let out your feelings and emotions. So he would bottle them up so much until it would be too much, and then he would just react, and then it was like, whoa, what happened? Some of you guys might be married to repressive Charlies that you have no idea. It's kind of like walking on eggshells. If this type of person is your boss, what can tend to happen, right? Some of this could mean, you have no idea, you're kind of waiting. It's like a ticking time bomb. So how do you actually handle these types of people? Some of you actually are this type. Some of you don't really, practice the 90-second rule. And for those of you who don't know what the 90-second rule is, that's in another training that I have. You might want to subscribe to neetabhushan.com, and I'll be able to kind of share with you when those, kind of come alive. And we have a membership pool and everything. So if you're interested in that, you could definitely join in. But anyways, so moving on. I love this one. So, narcissistic, problematic Priscilla. There is always a problem. Always a problem. And oh my gosh, the world is against her because, her car broke down, and when she was on her way to get the car fixed, she was trying to get gas, and she couldn't even get gas because the gas pump wasn't working, and then she got a call, and her son got into jail, and basically, and then her house was robbed the month before, and it's constant problems after problems after problems, and basically your problems are basically her problems because it's all about her, and she thinks everything is about her, so it's always about her. It's always about problematic Priscilla, and you actually get a word in, but you can't really get a word in because it's always about her. She thinks it's always about her. How many of you are actually probably married to a problematic Priscilla? so narcissistic. Everything's all about her. I know that in, my life, all of my aunts, if you have, cultural aunts and all of my dad's side, the Punjabi Indian aunts, everything was about them. You had a headache, their headache was 50 times greater than your headache. And, you broke your leg, they broke 2 legs, and it's just, problems are never ending, never ending. What is wrong with this type of situation and this type of human? A, you will never get any sort of point across. That's number one. Number two, what is their deepest desire? What are they actually trying to achieve? We talked about 4 big needs, in the beginning. What are they trying to achieve? They just want love, right? They want love so bad that they're going to hold on to their problems so tight so that they can actually get attention. How many do you know of people in your life that actually act like this? How many know of your employees that actually act like this? Yeah, I hired all of these types of people all day long. And my company actually didn't grow for a while because I had these types of people. And so, while they're chatty Cathys in some sense, the chatty Cathys all about themselves, and they're not really contributing to the mission of growing as a company, right? So, how do we deal with these types of personalities? And I'm sharing this with you because, you might say, oh my gosh, that's how I act some of the time. Oh my gosh, that's what happens when I actually haven't eaten and I'm hangry. I become like a drill sergeant, and that's okay. We all have different faces of ourselves. That is completely 100% normal. We are human beings. We have that. Okay. So embrace that. Number one. Number two, using the Kavak approach, okay? Kavak approach is C-A-V-A-C, okay? The first C stands for curious. Be absolutely 100% curious about the other person. I mean, you've got to embody this sense of wonder about the other person and not judgment, right? Because judgment actually closes us off. Curiosity expands our horizons, expands the way that we're thinking and approaching people. Second is A, which is authenticity. You have to be authentic and real and truthful and honest. If you try to sugarcoat things, you're not going to get anywhere. And you're doing this for them. You're doing them a disservice if you're not being honest to them. V is for vulnerability. So I hear this all the time, and, in so many different parts of the world. I was just doing a workshop in Thailand. I was just doing a workshop in Malaysia. In the Asian countries, we have so much pride and so much, honor and so much, we need to have our sense of self-respect. And so we cannot show our weakness. That is absolute complete bullshit, okay? Throw that shit in the garbage. And all of us women, who think we have to be alpha males, actually get our point across, please. Vulnerability goes a long way. Now, vulnerability and not manipulation, because, if you use this, and I see so many young women who try to use the victim card to get a point across. No, it's a way to actually showcase your truest essence, and say, and be honest and real. You really mean a lot to me. And this is something that really, means so much to me that I want to be able to teach you so that you can actually go on into your worlds and teach this and empower and inspire those around you to actually make better decisions as a result. So that was me being vulnerable in that sense, right? So vulnerability goes a long way. Showing a sense of weakness is actually not the case at all. It's actually building trust. And people build trust when you're actually honest and when you actually share your truest essence. So A, the second A, is actually adaptability. So you think with problematic Priscilla, repressed Charlie, drill sergeant, and apologetic Nancy, with all of these people, and there's more. These are just, fun avatars, right, that I came up with because, to showcase these different types of humans that we have on a daily basis. And these are the extremes, right? And so adaptability, it's going to be up to you because you know better. You know better. Your light is much, greater. You have a better understanding. You are more aware. Because you are more aware, you know how to tackle some of these people. So you have to be able to be adaptable. I mean, there's just no way around it. Being flexible is, keys to testing your emotional intelligence, or what I call in my best-selling book, emotional grit. So, and then lastly is compassion. We know that you are overachievers, you are leaders. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here in this session. Because we expect so much from ourselves, sometimes we don't have that compassion. I want you to have that compassion for yourself, because Kavak, what it is basically these are empathy-based tools. And so these tools I teach, all around the world. This was actually, one of the chapters in my best-selling book, right? We actually highlighted 11, but I shortened Kavak to actually unleash, being able to understand, people in many different sectors. And if you just start with that, you're going to transform your relationships. So, basically, if you don't have any questions, and you can obviously reach me at Neeta at globalgritinstitute.com. I do this basically all around the world, whether in workshops or on live trainings as well. And so I'm super thankful that you all basically tuned in today. If you want to know more, I've got this really exclusive opportunity for us to be able to work together in a different fashion, which is harnessing your emotional grit, basically in your own lives, being a better leader of yourself. Some of you might think, well, I'm not so much of a leader, but each of you are leaders of your own life, and I build leaders. And the biggest area that we grow in when we are actually open is the area of curiosity and vulnerability, and being able to have some of these tools in your toolkit. So knowing, number one, how you actually can build an internal strength so solid that it spills over in every single aspect of your life. So these are just some of the benefits from being part of this emotional grit accelerator, which I definitely invite you to join in if you are ready, if you feel like you are called to do and to be part of something much greater for yourself. I'm working with 10 amazing humans, and we have applications are basically closing by the end of this week, so you have 3 more days to apply. The tuition is basically $1,500. And if you were to work with me for 3 months, for example, one-on-one, it's $20,000. And if you would be attending a live workshop of mine, it's $1,500 for the workshop for a day. So this unique opportunity to be with me live coaching you every week, and we'll be basically together for 6 weeks. So within those 6 weeks, you'll be able to, build your emotional endurance, your basically internal resilience on how to manage more stress, and how to actually have less stress, how to have more balance in your life, and how to actually navigate difficult conversations, how to say no more. We will be going into how to cultivate your power characteristics or your power virtues to actually, be that best version of yourself. This new era of you. So if you're ready, if you're called to it, I invite you to apply. We only have a few spots left. So if that is you, if you're actually ready to make the commitment and take the plunge and be with me in a safe space, in an amazing group that actually takes you to another level without, jumping into an investment of, a 3-month program with me privately, I think this will be a really amazing taste tester for you. And you can apply at emotionalgrit.com/accelerator. I'll put it below. So it's emotionalgrit.com/accelerator. And it's 3 payments of $500 or it's $1,500 total. Now, for those of you who are super excited to, to dive in, I'm thoroughly grateful for you to invest in yourself this year. I think that for all of my coaches and my mentors throughout the years that have really shaped me to transition so beautifully from, one career into a consulting career, and, being an angel investor for many years, and then also being an advocate and a mentor for, young women to help them grow and expand in ways when they're actually just more authentic to themselves. We don't really get this sort of training as a doctor. And so I'm so thankful for all of my mentors and all of my coaches. So I hope that I can actually train you, to actually be and do the same for your own lives. So, take that step if you feel called to it. Now, some of the questions that I get all the time is, oh my gosh, I don't have enough time. I'm doing so many things already. We do meet weekly, okay? We do meet weekly, and we do meet for about an hour and a half. And so, and this is basically your time, right? If you want to grow in any way, taking the first step is basically signing up for something. Okay, because we all don't have time, but we make the time for things that we actually want more of. So if you want to have more resilience, if you want to be a better leader, if you want to take a stand and create better boundaries for you, if you want to learn how to, create space for things that will lift you up and light you up, then now's the time. Okay, there shouldn't be any excuses for that. You've already made it this far. This is kind of another avenue of opportunity, right? Or you can go and just continue on as you've been continuing on, right? And we can make the excuses and then make the same complaints that, okay, I didn't get as far as I wanted to in 2016. Here's another year, but you're on this call for a reason, and so you're not like the rest of humans where we just kind of wallow in our pity. You're actually taking the leaps. So take the plunge. You're already there. And so the next step is basically the other question that I get so much of is, is basically, the money aspect. I don't have any money. I have to take care of my kids, or I have too many commitments going on. And all I have to say is, on the money aspect, if you were to work with me for 3 months, it's, $20,000. So this is a highly, highly discounted, value. And what you'll be learning within those 6 weeks will definitely transform your life. It's taken me a while to really want to kind of create a course and guideline to actually inspire the masses, and the masses meaning 10 amazing humans in a setting where it's small enough, but it's great because you have other people to hold you accountable, and there's so much more transformation that happens when you are actually in a group setting, because you actually see and understand the different perspectives and perceptions of everyone else, and you're not the only one that's going through a lot of these things too. Okay, so as far as that, again, you only invest in what you grow into, right? When you want that handbag, no matter what, that handbag makes you feel like $1 million. So you go invest in it. We invest in things that we actually want. So if you've made it all the way to the end of this, obviously you are definitely so curious to know more, and you're scared. You're scared that what if it doesn't work? What if or maybe I don't deserve this? And for a lot of women, most of the barriers that I encounter is the deep thought inside of, oh my gosh, I should put my kids first, or my husband first, or this, or my team, or there's this idea that you don't deserve. And I'm telling you right now, you're here. You deserve to be a better leader of your life. So I'm so honored to be able to work with you. I can't wait, and I look forward to your application. If you want more of me and more trainings, please go on and sign up at neetabhushan.com. You can grab a copy of my book at emotionalgrit.com. It has been all over the world, and like I said, cheers to your best self. And it was such an honor speaking to you today. Mwah. Take care.